there any questions?
So again, if you have questions, please find the chat box. We'll give a couple seconds here for people to submit those into that box there.
And real quick, we just put the grant in last week, and we're waiting to hear from the EDA. But it was we were invited to participate, so we're just waiting. Any questions? We're good?
I don't see any questions in the chat
Great.
box. Again, if you have any more for Joanne, feel free at the end of the meeting to submit those or submit those at any point.
Or email me.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So next up is Mark.
Thank you, Justin. I just want to wish everybody, make sure they're safe and healthy and made it through this pandemic so far. Seem to be moving in the right direction, but obviously, fingers crossed that we continue to recover from that and that all of your families are safe and healthy. Justin, we can move to the first slide. Okay, so building upon what Joanne has just stated in terms of the supplemental grant, the EDA has also bolstered funding for the economic adjustment assistance and public works programs that they offer. That funding for our region is to the tune of $225 million, but that does get split up amongst a significant amount of districts. So they will be looking at projects on a competitive basis, but the big thing to note here is that before they would match projects on a 50%. Now they're looking to start those out at 80. And then if there are special circumstances in which your district, you meet certain distress criteria or you've exhausted your effective taxing and borrowing capacity, they will look at those on a case-by-case basis and could potentially fund 100% of the project, which is a new thing as part of the CARES Act funding. As you see in this PowerPoint, and I'm sure that this will be shared or has already been shared with you, that link to the EDA will show you exactly some of the specific criteria they are looking for. The flyer shown on the left-hand side, we had sent that out at the beginning of this when they first announced the funding, and we also have that on our website as well. Next slide, please. Okay, things to consider here, and just in dealing with our EDA regional rep Kyle Darden, two of the biggest things, obviously, and this has always been the case with the EDA, job creation, retention, private investment are going to be significant things to consider when submitting an application. When you put your thoughts down and you want to get our ideas, Kyle's idea, he's going to want to know those two things specifically. Projects that promote industrial and manufacturing economic development will be highly competitive. Some of the projects we've put in front of them so far, they had retail and hospitality. He said, those are still eligible, still competitive, but not as much so as industrial and manufacturing. So those will be big. Those are projects that enhance that capability. They could be water related, could be infrastructure related, but they'll look at those and see what their potential is for job creation and private investment. What we've been doing over the last month, we've been soliciting potential projects. We have a one-page template available that provides a box to put your funding in, describe your project, the strategic rationale, maybe some of your regional partners, stakeholders, and how this is all going to affect economic development, job creation, private investment. Those two things are going to be hammered home in any discussion for a potential application. And again, those are just things to consider. And I'll be happy at the end of this to answer any questions or, email me as well. Justin, you can move to the next slide. Just wanted to touch on two things aside from the CARES Act, because we haven't spoken in a while. It's been since March, since the last TAC. The 2020 to 2022 SEDS is complete. That document is available on Eastgate's website. I've provided a link here. You could also go onto the website, click on the library, click on economic development. It'll be the first document that pops up in the upper left-hand corner. So very easy to find. If you want to discuss that document further with me as well, please feel free to email me, call me. And, I'd be happy to answer those questions. The next thing I wanted to touch on, which I reported on in March, was the proposed regional broadband feasibility study. We have submitted that to the EDA a few months back. Currently, we're awaiting the final word as to whether or not that project will be funded. We are hopeful. We've received feedback that it merits further consideration. So we remain positive on that, but when a final announcement is made, we will be sure to provide an update to you guys on that. That's it for my presentation. Pending any questions, have a good day. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to enter them into the chat. I do see one popped up asking where the PowerPoint will be posted. That will go up on the Agendas in Minutes page on our website. If you go to eastgatecog.org, under the About Us dropdown and under Committees, you'll be able to find that and all of this information there after the meeting. So not seeing any additional questions come through. We will keep moving on, and Kathy is up next.
Okay, well, it's good to see everyone outside of the Eastgate family that I've been conversing with, even though I see you in small little squares on my screen. Thank you for joining us. And I know it's been a while since we talked about ARC. I've got some things going on I'd like to share with you. First, I'd like to begin with an update on where we are with our funding for fiscal year 21. And Justin is going to help us out here by going to the Eastgate website. If you're looking for information on our homepage regarding the Appalachian program, you can find that by going to Regional Planning and then clicking on ARC. Looks like it's going to take, okay, there we are. And this is what you will see. To begin, the pre-applications were due at Eastgate on May 8th. And of course, due to COVID, we did not ask applicants to hand deliver them as we normally do. The applications were received electronically and 10 entities submitted an application. We did have requests from each of our 3 counties. So we are in the process of reviewing those applications. Of the 10 that we received, requests were made in the amount of $1.8 million. So next month, when we have the review process and the scoring and the input from commissioners and so forth there, we'll have a formal resolution for you for review and consideration. We do not know what our allocation is going to be at this time for fiscal year 21. That is usually announced at the end of summer, so that is, we're on the regular timeline. And in years past, our district has received $1.2 million in both federal and state funding for our district. We are unsure at this time if it's going to be, downsized at all because of the impact that COVID has had on our budget. But as that information comes forward, I'll be glad to share it with you. And Justin, if we could scroll down a little bit, I'd like to bring some information to, if you're interested, we do have our scoring criteria on the website, as well as the fact sheet and the instruction booklet. And as you've heard me talk many times, projects funded through ARC must meet one of our 5 goals. And at the very bottom of the page here is where you would find those goals. The goals allow us to fund projects of wide variety, whether it's infrastructure, workforce development, increasing access to healthcare, and of course, supporting our businesses so they can assist in job creation and retention. So this is the section where you would find that information. Certainly, I'm available for you by email or cell. And even if you call the Eastgate office and leave me a voicemail, we'll get that information to you. So the next item I'd like to talk about is a funding opportunity. And if Justin, if we could move to our homepage, Jeff and Justin have just been instrumental in getting this information out. I'm so appreciative. But on our homepage, under top news, there is an announcement. Governor DeWine announced this month that he's making available another $10 million, which has been awarded to the Appalachian Growth Capital Group. And this funding is to help small businesses within Appalachia, Ohio. So that's all 32 counties. And this is a low interest loan that is available to small businesses in Appalachia that have been impacted by COVID. So it will be administered through the Appalachian Growth Capital Group, and they are a community development financial institution. But to give you some background on this funding, you can use it for like downtown business projects, commercial real estate, startup companies, and of course, gap funding. But there are some eligibility requirements. Small business is considered any business within the Appalachian region that has gross annual sales of $40 million and below. Also, the applicant must commit to having some type of job creation within their package in order to secure this loan. And it cannot be used to refinance debt. So I believe at the very end of the page there, you'll see there's some contact information. Mr. Brad Blair is the point person, and we also have the availability for you to link directly to the application right here on our website. So if you have any questions, certainly I'll be glad to assist you there, or feel free to reach out to Mr. Blair. And then another item I'd like to give an update on is the annual fall conference. Every year, the state's co-chair, that is the state in which hosts the conference. And Governor DeWine is our ARC state co-chair. Very pleased with the attention he's given the Appalachian region. But of course, given the current climate, we will not be moving forward with a traditional conference. It was to be held in Marietta. It's going to be the same dates. It'll be August 17th and 18th, but we're going to do a virtual conference. So we'll still have presenters and opportunity for interaction. It'll be a video conference. And as more information comes available on the particulars of that, I'll be glad to share it. But it will just not be an in-person conference as it has in the past. Then my final item, I'd like to leave on a good note. We are very pleased that in this month, or pardon me, July's edition of Ohio Magazine, Appalachia, Ohio is going to be featured as a tourism destination. Of course, tourism brings in a great deal of economic development and dollars within our region. So very happy that Ohio Tourism Bureau, along with Ohio Magazine, are doing a full spread on Appalachia, Ohio. It will list like the 5 top destinations. I don't know which destinations were chosen, but I do know there was some filming going on within our district. So I'm looking forward to get that edition to see what they've come up with. Those are the items that I wanted to update and share with you today, and I'll be glad to address any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Yeah, once again, if you'd like to ask Kathy a question, feel free to enter that into the chat box. We'll pause for a few seconds. Okay. Not seeing any come through just yet. We'll move on to Grant Taylor.
Hello, everyone. Wanted to give a quick just overview of some of the stuff that was put into the safety plan. I mentioned a few meetings ago about the fact that it was out, but didn't have time to go over more details. Finally wanted to get around to that. So the plan is up on our website in the safety section. A lot of the plan was done with having groups of people coming in, talking to us, doing a committee type thing. The 4 main things that we discussed as were the biggest priorities that we're interested in was impaired drivers, speed, distracted drivers, and intersections. Those were the things that people were most concerned about. So the plan focuses on that. Next slide. Each of the different focus areas has its own section in the safety plan that goes into different details about the data behind it, what's going on. So you end up with, the the impaired drivers by crash type, seeing what's there. The speed has that as well. There's maps showing where each of these different things is having issues at the most. There is a large amount of information for each of the different priority types within the plan. Next slide. I feel like a college professor from the 90s saying next slide. We also have in there some data about some of the general stuff. They'll give you the over the last 5 years, showing you the fatal crashes, each of the different crash types, showing you which is the highest type. Throughout the plan is large. There's much, much more going on beyond this. I just want to highlight some of the stuff that was the bigger stuff that popped out. Next one. One of the actually really interesting pieces of data that's shown there is that the serious injuries and fatalities and being compared with the population change. You see about the fact that our population has been going down, and while the fatalities and serious injuries have been going down as well, they've not been going down as fast, which is a slight issue. There's also the next page includes for the vehicle miles traveled as well. Also within this is towards the end of the plan, there is a section about different things that can be done within the communities to try to improve safety. These are suggestions that apply to ODOT or to the engineers or to Eastgate or to police to hospitals, suggestions for anyone out there basically to be able to go in and figure out what they can do to help out, and as well as help guide our process for what we are doing with making changes. Next slide. And then at the end, one thing that's exciting for a lot of the people here is you've got the priority location lists are included in there. It's got the top 15 locations within Mahoning, top 15 in Trumbull for segments and intersections. It's not just the top 15. If there's a tie for second place, as you see on the slide here, that doesn't count as 2. We still go out 15 places. It also includes some of the priorities that ODOT has within our region as well. These are easier to get at least the safety funding for. And then also in there in that right-hand column, you see that the emphasis area overlap has distracted, impaired, speed, and intersection. And each of those at least tells you like these are our priority things, but these locations are also having issues right where our priorities are at. So extra stuff to look at. But the plan is up on the website. There's so much information in there. It's amazing to go through everything. And I'm always available to talk safety with anybody. So if there's any questions?
Don't see anything through the chat just yet. We'll give it another couple seconds, allow people to type their responses in there. Okay, we'll move on, and Murda, you're up next.
Thank you, Justin, and good morning to everyone. What I wanted to talk to you today about was the fiscal year 2021 through 2025 Transit Development Program draft report has been updated. It's a short range planning document that's updated every year to document a lot of the changes that takes place in transit in Mahoning and Trumbull County. The first section of the report, it's color-coded into 4 sections, blue, green, orange, and purple. The first section talks about how the history of the bi-state urbanized area came about. It's important. The census tract dictates our urban boundary. So it explains how the funding for transit comes into our urbanized area. The second section, the green section, also talks about WRTA and the Trumbull County Transit System. This section contains information about transit goals and objectives, fare structures, fixed route changes that took place in the previous year, and the new service into Trumbull County and ridership data that we've been tracking for many, many years. The regionalization efforts that took place, it's There's an explanation on that also that we've aggressively worked on last year and this year. The orange section of the report contains information on WRTA's new and proposed fixed route service that they've implemented, including the routes in Trumbull County, any of the new routes in Mahoning County, and any proposed fixed routes that are left to complete in Mahoning County. The last section is the purple section, and this details the current list of transit projects that were included in our fiscal year 2021 through 2024 TIP. If anyone has any comments on the report, I am taking comments until June 18th. The report can be found on our website. That concludes my report. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Murda. Anyone have any questions about the TDP? Okay, so Ken, you are up next.
Just like many of you, Eastgate every 4 years has a certification review that's completed by Federal Highway and FTA. Last time that Eastgate was 2016, so of course 2020, we are starting the process to go through that review. So on our website, if you were to click on that link there or in your package, that will take you directly to our webpage. And that is also open to anyone to access. If you went into our transportation section, just scroll down to certification review, you would find this same information. But this basically gives everyone the overview of the certification review. For those of you that were wondering why we do what we do, all of those resources there on the right come from the Federal Register, and that's what we're being reviewed upon, making sure that we are in compliance with all FHWA and FTA rules and regulations. If you go down a little bit, Justin, you'll see the first part of our review, and that begins with a desktop review. So you'll see that in the bold is questions that FHWA and FDA have submitted to Eastgate. So that first one there, the Eastgate bylaws, you'll see if you clicked on that, and you don't have to click on it, Justin. But that's our planning perspectives, and that would give you, our staff organization, our charts, our committee structures, our bylaws, basically how we conduct business. The next one there is our long-range plan and the information from our 2040 transportation plan update that we completed, and the process going through how we got to that point. And then a little bit farther down in that section is our 2050 MTP plan, which we are currently working on, and some of the things that we are doing to prepare for that in 2023 when the plan will be due. Again, the TIP, there's the information there if you want to know about our TIP process or the funding policies and guidelines. Another one that they're interested in, again, we talk about all the time, is our transportation performance measures or our transit asset management targets and agreements. You'll see the transit asset management in there, transportation asset management. And then moving down, our congestion management process, our bike and ped plan, our public participation plan. So basically, this page is just a wealth of knowledge, and just compliments to our staff and to Eastgate that we do a number of different things, as Jim has always said. We're 15 employees going 15 different ways. But these are just some of the things that we've highlighted for the desk review. Moving forward, after the desk review is completed in August, I believe it's 11th and 12th, there will be a 2-day review. It's supposed to be in person. Right now, it is going to be planned on being a virtual meeting very similar to this, where we'll have one-on-one interaction to discuss this information further. So just wanted to bring you up to date. Again, if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to me, or again, this is all on our website. Thank you.
Okay, any questions about the certification review? Take a look at the chat, and I don't see any in there just yet. We'll give everyone a couple more seconds. Okay, up next, Jim, you have the floor.
Great, thank you, Justin, and thanks. I do want to thank everybody for participating in virtual TAC today. It's our first shot at this, and it seems to be going very well. Thank you for taking the time. I do want to assure everybody, as you can see from some of the presentations, that Eastgate is continuing to work remotely. We continue to follow Line's recommendation to work remotely if we're able to. Sort of a bumpy road initially, like I'm sure everybody's got it down, and we're expanding our reach now with our virtual meetings. As you can see, I'm in the office. Some of us are coming in occasionally. Certainly want to do social distancing. When we're also starting to have smaller groups in for meetings, trying to get back to some form of normalcy. But what's important to off to the staff to get us is that we're able to work and continue to do.
Not to cut you off, Jim, but you are a little bit soft, so if you could speak up a tiny bit.
Sure. Okay, and I will. I'll try to move closer. But that was one of our niches when we did a trial run of this. Is mine wasn't very loud, but I just have a few things I want to touch on. Our Youngstown build will be having its groundbreaking June 23rd on Fifth Avenue. Invites will go out to that. We're excited to be able to break ground on that. Lordstown build project. There's a link on our website to that. That was submitted May 17th. That's in for review through the USDOT. We're hoping that works out. And lastly, I encourage you to follow through with Mark and Joanne on the EDA CARES Act, closely with EDA, and hoping to be able to get some project money in the area in the very near future. So that concludes my report, Justin.
Thank you, Jim. We'll move through the rest of the agenda here. So up next is typically resolutions for passage. And I'm seeing a couple mentions in the comments that people had a tough time hearing Jim. Maybe we'll just kind of get Jim's thoughts down, on text, and we could send those out after the meeting just to kind of recap what his report was, so everybody has a summary of that. But as far as resolutions for passage, the TAC members will receive those resolutions and have the ability to vote through email following the meeting. So no action here at this time. And then before we head to questions and comments, we do have one announcement. So I'll let Stevens unmute here for a second and provide his announcement.
Thanks, Justin. Yeah, real quick for everyone, kind of talks about those resolutions a little bit. You'll see one coming from me. We have a request for an increase. It's from the Village of Poland for their cemetery bridge project. It's a small increase, doesn't require a STIP amendment, but we'll have a resolution together for that for everybody to review and vote on. So look for that in that resolutions email, and that's all I had for an announcement.
All right, thank you, Stephen. Okay, I actually see, so it looks like the Planning Commission has two small announcements, so I will try and find you. It looks like that might be Nick.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Two small announcements. I know some of the resolutions are going to be support for a couple grants that we went after, but we do currently operate a CHIP grant, Community Housing Impact and Preservation. With the CARES or the pandemic guidelines came out, we were able to move some of our funding in our CHIP program to support anybody affected by COVID-19, rent, mortgage, uh, lease payments, utility bills that if they have lost their job or their hours have been reduced due to COVID, we have some dollars set aside, and it has to follow the same guidelines as our CHIP. So they have to income qualify, and we can't help anybody in Girard, Niles, Hubbard, or Warren because they have their own separate funding. The second announcement is with the CARES Act, they're allowing us to use our RLF to help support businesses that were affected by COVID, and it's CDBG, so it's tied to low to moderate income jobs available, so jobs retained or created, and it's up to $5,000 per job with a max of $25,000. So we have just under $300,000 available for that to help any businesses in Trumbull County. Again, outside of Warren, Niles, and Girard, again, they have their own funding. But any businesses outside of that that were either shut down, so mortgage payments, rent payments, regular monthly costs, can't refinance, but we do have money available. So if you know of any businesses or residents that are struggling that could be aided by either one of those programs, please send them down to the Planning Commission, and we'll try to do our best to get everybody helped.
Excellent. Thank you, Nick. Had another comment come through from Bob Durbin, Mahoning County Engineers. He says, we are having a virtual public hearing tonight from 6 to 7 p.m. for our Western Reserve Road Market to South project to meet our NEPA document requirement. Anyone interested in attending can click on the link on the County Engineers website for public input. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, not seeing anything else come through the chat. There is the option, if you think of something after the meeting, feel free to send Lisa an email and we'll work out a response to your comments and questions. And then to wrap this up, I'm going to unmute the TAC chairperson, Gary Schaefer, for a few words. So Gary, you have the floor.
Hey, thank you, Justin. Yeah, I want to thank Eastgate for coordinating this and providing the logistics for this TAC meeting this morning. Hopefully we can expand upon this format until we can once again meet in person, especially the staff. I want to thank you guys for putting together the presentations, presenting this information. It's good to get everybody back together and share this information for Trumbull Mahoning counties. Thanks everyone for participating this morning. This was a success, and like I said, hopefully we can expand upon this moving forward. As of now, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.